This is Matt Welsh with Spiritual Media Blog, and today I have a very special guest, Brent Webb. Brent Webb is an acclaimed mind power expert and personal development leader and has headlined his own programs at hotels, resorts, casinos, cruise ships, and colleges, and has created seminars and training programs for Fortune 500 corporations, including Google, Ford Motor Company, Nabisco, and Hilton Hotels. Brent has worked with superstars like Joan Rivers, Chaka Khan, Sia, Dionne Warwick, Dolly Parton, and Kenny Rogers. He teaches people how to understand the hidden abilities they possess to do more and have more in every area of their life, from finances to relationships. It all starts with mindset. For more than 2 decades, Webb has focused his entire agenda around helping people create lives of prosperity, rewarding relationships, and spiritual awareness, and is known for his inspirational and motivational style. Brent has used his own knowledge of human potential and the mind to beat anxiety, drinking, drugs, cancer, and create a multi-million-dollar brand. Brent, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hey, Matt, it's my pleasure. That guy sounds great. I cannot wait to meet him.
Yeah, I must say that was a great introduction. And yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more about you. And I think what really stood out to me is that you use your teachings in your own life, and including having dealt with anxiety and some other serious issues. So can you share a little bit more about your own personal journey, and especially anxiety? Because I think that's something that a lot of people deal with. And how did that show up in your life? How did you beat it, and how did you go on to create your company?
Well, I started out, I was an only child. And I'm from the Midwest. So I was born in Ohio. And, like a lot of only children, you're looking for some kind of hobby to make you stand out. And so I wanted to be a magician. When I was a little kid, it was all about magic. Okay. So I would go to the library every week and I would take out all the magic books. And one time I went to the library, there was a book on the shelf. It was just in the wrong place, called The Magic of Believing. And it was all about the mind. And so I'm 9 years old. And I read this book and I realized, even that young, that, wow, there's really something more here than I've ever realized about life. So I really got into the mind early, but ever since I was born, I mean, when we're born, it's like kids are blank slates. And then you get around your family and you get around your friends and you start to get programmed. You start to get programmed with your parents' beliefs and this is what a girl does, this is what a boy does, right, wrong, whatever. So I my mom had horrible anxiety, and I guess I inherited it from her. My dad too. He was just such a, everything had to be perfect, kind of, made you nervous. So I had anxiety ever since I can remember. I mean, since I was a little kid. So I got that book, realized, wow, there's really something more here than I've ever realized. So I continue to do shows and that sort of thing, but I really started studying mind power and the ability to use your mind to make changes in your life. So when I was 18, I was in college and I hated it. I would sit every day and go, what am I doing here? I don't need to learn this stuff. This isn't my thing. I know exactly what I want to do. So I went on the road. I met Joan Rivers when I was 18. I started doing an opening act, which was more of a magic act, but I opened an opening act for her, Dionne Warwick, other celebrities. But I used that time as I went all over the world to meet with other thought leaders, spiritual leaders, faith leaders. I mean, I've met presidents, prime ministers, very successful people. And I really started to understand mind power, and that if you harness it, you focus it where it matters. I've met monks who said, what do you do? And I said, oh, I'm a magician, and I do these mind tricks. And he said, think of any word in the English language. And I did. And he said, lumberjack. And that was the word. And that's what blew my mind, because he was like, there's the human consciousness that we're all connected to. And then there's our individual. And he's like, once you get into the mass consciousness, mind reading, those sort of things are not impossibilities anymore, because you're tapped in, you're all on the same, you're all on the same wavelength. So it really changed the way I went about entertainment. I still did shows, but I've always kind of mixed the message that you can do this, you have these hidden abilities. And I've kind of was really one of the first people to mash, mash up those things. So it's not just a show. Even years ago, when you would see me, it would be a lot of motivation, a lot of instruction on how to change your life. So the last few years, I really started, doing much more really about COVID. When COVID happened, I just realized I'm teaching the wrong people. Billionaires, millionaires, celebrities, all these professional athletes, they have nannies, they have accountants, they have assistants, they have millions of people to do the stuff that normal people do every day. And it's really the masses that need to know how to change their life, how to tap into their mind power. So going back a little bit, so I dropped out of college, went on the road, still had that anxiety. I would wake up anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where I'm doing, how much I'm being paid, how great the audience is. I would just have this overwhelming anxiety. So that was really the first thing I attacked was with mind power was realizing that, I built this false version of me in my head that's anxious. I'm inheriting this. So I really took the stand that, I'm going to start taking control of this. And then, I got cancer, I got lymphoma. I was out performing and I had no family with me. I was with, a show. And they tell me, wow, you've got stage 3 lymphoma. I mean, I had no idea. And of course, you're frightened, you're scared, but it was a mindset thing. And so I realized, everything I've come up against, it's been alcohol, I was addicted to pain pills, all these things from years ago. Every one of those things are mindset things, the way you look at them, the way you attack the issue. So I really started putting it into place in my life. And then I saw not just the changes that was happening to me, but by me telling other people, I was seeing it was working for other people. So about 10 years ago, I really started pushing towards this motivation, inspiration, empowerment, edge to the business. And it's really just taken over because we're in a crazy spot. I mean, the world's in a crazy space. Everybody wants to change. They want to be the person they were born to be. So like I said, then the last few years since COVID, that's all I've been doing. I mean, I'm going on next week on a cruise to Alaska. I'm still doing my entertainment, but I'm mixing it with seminars and speaking and, that sort of thing.
That's really cool. I want to hear more about how you integrate the inspiration and entertainment, but also, do you mind walking me through just the basics of using mind power to help anxiety? I mean, what does that mean? I mean, like if somebody comes to you and they say, I'm anxious, or more importantly, how did you do it? When you were feeling anxious or worried, were you changing your thinking? Did you change your breathing to change your body's physiological responses? Did you go just tell yourself that you can do it? I mean, what were you doing to actually lower the anxiety?
Well, the cool thing was I had a lot of trial and error time because I tried things other people told me to do. I tried things that I created. I'm talking over years and years and years. And so I was able to see what worked, what didn't. I was able to meet people, famous people that would say, try this. This is what worked for me. So I incorporated those things, but then I started putting together my own. I know what works. I know what didn't work for me.
Right.
So I started putting that together. Now, what I teach, I've made it really simple because I think the easiest way to understand is that we've all got one of these amazing computers. It's the most sophisticated supercomputer ever invented, right? When you buy a cell phone, a toaster, a microwave, anything, you get a huge manual that tells you everything you need to know about how to use it. You're born with this thing, which is phenomenal, but it's like, good luck. You're on your own. And I remember a teacher in school, I was in elementary school, she would say, you need to learn to focus. And finally, one day I said, when did we learn that? Because I must have been sick that day.
Right.
And she admitted she didn't know how to focus. She never really learned either. They all tell us these things. So you need to, be better at this or whatever without any explanation. So what I did was I found what worked for me and I put it, I call it the ABCs of mind power. There's 3 things that you can do right now that start getting you in control of your life. The first thing was the A, and it's awareness. Because this is the key. Most people have no idea what's going on up there. Like I said, you're programmed from when you were born. Now you're an adult. It's your responsibility to figure out what the programming is. Because whatever you were told as a kid, between the ages of 3 and 9, it's like you have a digital recorder in your mind. I used to say tape recorder, but people nowadays don't even know what that is, right? You have to say digital. But imagine you have a digital recorder in your mind. It's recording everything. So the first 8 years, it's recording everything that you do, you see, you smell, you like, you don't like, everything. And then one day you're 9, 10 years old, that tape clicks off And now for the rest of your life, that's the old rusty out of date programming that you're going to be living with.
Yeah.
So anytime you're on autopilot, and for most people, it's 90% of the day.
Yeah.
Think about it. 90% of the time, you're either in the past or in the future, and you're not in this moment. So your brain goes on autopilot, and that's the old tape that's running. So now as an adult, you have to become aware of what is on the tape, because it's running in the subconscious means your mind is thinking of 10 different things, and it's running in the background. So I tell people awareness is key. So little things you can do. Name the voice in your head. This was one of the very first things I did. People think it's crazy. It's my entire life I've been teaching this, because by naming the voice in your head, it takes the power away. First of all, you realize it's not the voice of God. It's not the voice of the future. It's not. It's this old rusty programming. It's trying to protect us by bringing up something from the past that's similar to what's happening. And that's why when you start to become aware, you realize you are living most of the time in the past or the future and not in the present, because you're worried about things you did before, what you could have done. If you'd done this, that wouldn't have happened. So you're in the past about 40% of the day. The other 40%, you're in the future worrying about things. What's going to happen? I hope this doesn't happen. I hope I get what I want. So you're in the future. So that's 80% of your day. Not only 90% of the time you're on autopilot, but 80% you're not even in the moment. You're in the past or the future, which are gone, right? One hasn't come yet. One is gone. When the future comes, it will be happening in this moment. When the past was happening, it was in this moment. They don't exist, but so many people live there. They live in the past, they live in the future. So by naming the voice, when the voice starts in my head, I named it Carl years ago. And what it does, it takes the sting away right away. Because now when the voice starts, you look at it not like the voice of God or this booming voice of the future. You look at it like a little petulant child who doesn't know any better. So when Carl starts talking, you go, oh, there goes Carl again, whatever you name the voice. There he goes again. He just never learns. You look at him almost like in a sad way, like, for him. And it takes all the sting away, because now it's just a little child who just throws things up to try to get you mad. And that voice in your head, I mean, there's two voices. There's the voice you can make talk, like when you're trying to think of something, you're going in the past, you're trying to think of something you need. But then there's the voice that just all of a sudden starts talking and says, remember that time you peed your pants at your 5th birthday party for no reason? It just all of a sudden starts talking. So that's the voice. I call it the bitchy roommate. You're trapped in a room with someone. Yeah. If that was a real person, you would be out of there in a day. Yeah. You would never let somebody do what you let your mind do to you. It's such an enemy. I mean, nobody has ever committed suicide without their mind telling them to do it. That's how much of an enemy it can become. So that little thing, naming the voice. Okay. The other thing I tell people, get some Post-it notes, put them around the house. What you do, you draw whatever, a happy face, a heart, write the name of the voice. So I would write Carl on mine, right? Put them around the house, put one in the car, put one at the office, put one in the bathroom, wherever. And now for a week, all you're going to do, get a little spiral notepad, a pen, keep it on your person. And anytime you see the Post-it note, that's your trigger. Stop. What's on my mind right now? Write it down. You don't judge it. You don't get mad at it. You don't think anything except what's on my mind, and you write it down. And then you put the pad away. You do that for a week. So 5, 6, 7 times a day, you do it. Now, at the end of the week, go read the pad, and you will see the most unbelievable amount of BS, unhelpful crap that no longer serves you. That's what's going on in the background of your mind. So that awareness immediately gets you about 80% of the way, because to be awakened, to be enlightened, to do all of those things, you have to first become aware of what your mind is doing to you. And that's why awareness before anything else, because people go through their entire life like they're in a tunnel. They're born, they die, and they never come out of that. This is the way I think life is. They don't realize there's anything else. So awareness is first. I mean, that's the first thing. And then there's the B and the C. Do you want to talk about any questions about this, or do you want me to tell you the next thing?
No, I would love to hear more about the B and the C. I mean, everything you're saying, I'm tracking. It makes perfect sense. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, and again, these are easy things. I always tell people, everybody's got a program. They've got something they're selling. They've got this and that, but you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to go somewhere. People think they have to go to India. I have to go meditate in a cave for a year. It's not true. Everything that you need is inside you. It's like, it needs to be activated. You have no idea how it works, and it's not your fault. And it's not our parents' fault, because they didn't know either. The schools don't know. I mean, it's you. You have to understand this about yourself. So after awareness, you start realizing, okay, the voice is talking. Wow, it's saying crazy stuff. You start to laugh at it. The power starts to go away. Okay. And it starts to change that rusty tape because now you're putting space in that tape. You're kind of re-recording that tape. So the next thing is the B is paramount, but they have to come in order. So first you're aware. You're aware of what's going on up there. The next thing is you have to start cultivating belief. You have to believe that you can have it, that you deserve it, because those are things from our childhood. Oh, rich people are evil, like certain things that get programmed into you that are very hard to get out of there. So you have to start believing that you can have it, because many people, they want to be rich, they want to have this, they want to, it's very obscure, the dream. It's not like a, they've got a laser focus on their dream. It's just something very, very, open. Like I want to be rich, right? But if you really break it down, they don't ever believe they can be rich because they have these mental blocks. They have these limiting beliefs. During those first 8 or 9 years, when that tape is running, I had a teacher, another teacher when I was in elementary school, told me you can never, I was horrible at math. I thought she told me, you're never going to get this. Math's not for everyone. You're just not smart enough to get this. Seriously, a teacher. So as a little kid, you take this in and you start to, it's a thought. It's just somebody's opinion, but it was somebody in authority, and you're a little kid and you take that thought and over, and you're thinking it and you're feeling it. And then it starts to become a belief, and it becomes a belief pattern. And then it becomes your truth and you live it. You start to live it. So until you change what you believe, it doesn't matter what you do. It's like putting a gun, a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. It's not going to work in the long term. So you have to start believing that you can have it. You have to start believing in yourself. When you see somebody that walks in a room and they have a magnetic personality, everyone's drawn to that person. Now, they don't have to be Brad Pitt looking. They don't have to be, something physically obvious. It's the way that you're holding yourself, the way that what you think about yourself, what you believe, what you think other people, your interaction, all of that is a mindset thing. So once you start becoming aware, you realize what the voice is saying, you realize it's crap, it starts to lose its grip on you. Okay. And you just keep doing that. You don't have to keep doing the Post-it notes, but you can keep doing things day in and day out, just where you stop and realize what's on your mind, try to figure it out. So then the belief starts to be built by the fact that you're now aware of what's going on. So much of it's not true. What do I want to be? My dad wanted me to be a lawyer. Obviously that didn't happen, but a lot of people are doing now what their parents wanted them to do for a profession in life, living where they want them to live, not even doing the thing they want. So then you start to look at, okay, are my beliefs mine? Were they created by me, or were they put in me by other people? And that starts to change things. So you go, okay, what do I want? I want to get rid of this. I want to do this. I want to be more whatever, less of this. So belief starts to take care of that. And finally, the C is the most important, really, but it has to come last, and it's connection. Now, first, there's the connection with everyone else, because this idea that we're all separate is just this illusion that's created by people in charge to keep us separate from each other, because it's man, woman, black, white, gay, straight, whatever it is, it's division. Okay. So the connection, the idea that we're connected to everyone is important, which means there's this universal consciousness. We're all connected to each other. We're not separate. There's no competition, because no two people have the same. I mean, think about this. No two people in the history of the universe ever have or ever will have the same life, the same experiences, the same everything. So when you're competing against someone who is not on your level. You are stronger on some points, they are stronger on others. So this idea that if I don't get mine, if I have to get mine first, or there's not going to be enough, this idea that we're competing, instead of looking at the person next to you, you should be worrying about your own laser focus. So connection, though, when I talk about it, it's not the idea that we're all connected, which we are, but it's the connection that you have with yourself. And that's how you change. That's how you make this transformation, by doing something that allows you to connect with you. Because many spiritual teachers teach the idea that you are the consciousness observing everything else. You're not this person in there. We start to associate with this body and with what's happening to this body, and it becomes us, it becomes our life. But you're really the consciousness, you're kind of above all of this. So inside the mind, you are the consciousness that all of this is happening to. But in order to connect to that consciousness, you have to do something where you're sitting alone, quiet, I meditate every day, 40 minutes in the morning, 40 minutes in the evening. I
Wow.
teach 15 and 15. And I only do that because my schedule's so busy. So when I say I sit for 40 minutes in the morning and 40 minutes in the evening, you have to know that I do it because of what it does. Because I would never spend that much time doing something that has no benefit.
What
But
type
when
of
I start, go
sorry,
ahead.
what type of meditation do you use?
Well, I mean, I do transcendental meditation. I learned years ago, but the meditation I also do and I teach because I wanted to teach people. People think meditation is this woo-hoo new age concept or it's somehow connected to religion, and it's not. I mean, the idea that you have to sit in silence is an idea that goes back. I mean, it's everywhere in every religious text from the Bible to everywhere else. The kingdom is within you. Everything is inside. We have this horrible thing that we do where everything we think matters, we think is out there. The person is going to make me happy. The new job is going to make me happy. The smaller butt is going to make me happy. The $1 million, whatever it is. So it puts us where happiness is eluding us and it's always in something out there. So we think when we get it, we'll be happy. Guess what? You get it and you're happy. I can tell you, I got the big house and the cars and all that. I was happy for about a week and it goes away. And I'll tell you, that's when I became an alcoholic. This is early 20s because my whole life I thought it was all about money. And when I got the money and realized it wasn't about that, I still felt like crap and I was still anxious and I was still afraid. And I was, that's a huge letdown when you think I've achieved the thing that's going to transform my life and you get it and it doesn't. So you have to sit in silence. You have to sit, whether it's now prayer. Some people say, well, can I pray or chant? Because I'm a Buddhist and I chant every day too. But I think you have to sit in silence, okay? Because in order to sit and connect to yourself truly, the inner you, the soul you have to be doing something where you're tricking that lower mind, okay? And then you're transcending it. So I teach people the meditation I've been teaching for 20 years is super easy. You sit, use a chair, feet flat on the floor, hands on your knees, take a couple of deep breaths, close your eyes, then all you have to do is count from 1 to 20 over and over again. Now it sounds easy. And it's like, I've had other people say, what is it about this that makes it so, that's so life-changing? This is from people that are doing it saying, I don't understand. I've meditated before, but I've never had this reaction. Because what it's doing is by counting from 1 to 20, if you get to 20, you go back to 1. And that's all you do. At the very beginning, you're not going to get to 20. You're going to get to 14 and you're going to start thinking about lunch. You go back to 1. There's no, in anything I teach, there's no judgment. You're never angry at yourself. You never try to figure out, why am I thinking that? So you're meditating, your eyes are closed, you're counting in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4. God, my butt is sore. Why am I sitting like that? You catch yourself. 1, 2, 3. If you get to 68, 69, 70, and you realize it, you go back to 1. That's all you do. But what it does, it creates an unbelievable ability to focus because our minds, for most people, it's like a crazy gorilla in a cage up there that's gone completely nuts, that's throwing crap everywhere, and we're afraid of it. So we just let it up there. We just let it do what it does. When you start to take control of your focus, what it's doing, and people say, well, what is it doing at the beginning? What you're doing is constantly pulling back your focus, constantly. I don't care if you're meditating. I tell people start with 5 minutes. If in 5 minutes you have to pull back your focus 50 times, that's a win. Because first of all, you realize okay, I got to go back. Okay.
Yeah.
Even if you sit there and you do the first couple of times and you're off in your mind somewhere, it's still a win because you're still starting to get control. But every time you pull back your focus, you strengthen it like it's a muscle. And that ability to focus where it matters, it's what I've worked with presidents, prime ministers, celebrities. I've coached sports teams, not coached them, but coached them about the mind. And I'll tell you, the most successful people, the Kobe Bryants of the world, understood mind power. It's like I work on something with my focus. I get rid of it. Something releases from me. I take that little bit of energy that comes back, that life force, and I focus it now where it matters. I do that again. I release a little something. Right? I take the power and I move it where it matters. That's how you do it. Because so many things bother us every day. We've got all these things trapped inside us. I mean, you would think logically, if you didn't want something, you didn't like something, you would get rid of it, right? But that's not what we do. Something happens we don't like and we store it inside. It's like we're afraid of something or a really horrible, embarrassing moment in our life. We take that moment. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to touch it. We don't want to feel it again. We don't get rid of it. we toss it inside and you hold it in you with willpower. And so every person has, 100,000 points of willpower holding down stupid stuff. And now something happens that brings this up. You had a horrible breakup with your girlfriend. She drives a red Honda. Now you see a red Honda, guess what? All that crap comes pouring back up, all that anxiety, all those feelings, okay? It came back up because it's energy that wants to leave. Everything that you do in your life is energy, and it's supposed to be transient, like these experiences. But it's what we do is like, we really like something. Oh, I'm going to keep it. I really like that sunset that I saw today. I'm going to keep that, right? I'm afraid of snakes. I'm afraid of whatever, spiders. I'm going to keep that. And so as you start to grow up, now all of these things affect you. You're not seeing reality anymore. You're seeing reality through this lens of not only your past, of all the things that happened to you, but all the things you want to happen, all the things you don't want to happen. So it's like driving a car, and you've had a car for 20 years, you've never washed the windshield. So you're sitting in the car, you're in your driver's seat, but you're looking through the window at reality through layer after layer after layer of the past. So, somebody walks up to you that looks like the uncle that used to be mean to you when you were a kid, all that fires up in you because you've stored that away and you don't want the feeling. So that's what happens when I tell people, the great thing about meditation, and it's not at the beginning about quieting the mind, that comes later. So you're not going to sit there and all of a sudden your mind's going to stop talking. Because when that does happen, it's heaven. It's unbelievable. That's why I do it, because it's like a sanctuary. You go somewhere where that mind finally shuts up and stops talking to you. But at the beginning, it gives you the ability to sit in silence and finally hear what the mind is saying. Because now when it's talking, you're very observant of what the mind is saying. Okay. You don't go into it. You don't let it pull you into it, but you pull your focus back. But it allows you this gift of seeing what your red flags are, seeing what it is that you need to work on. These things want to leave you. They don't want to be stuck in there. And it's like every time something happens, it's like when you say, somebody will say, you can't go there with me. You know what that means? You're getting very close to something I stuffed down inside. You can't talk about that with your father. That's exactly what it means. Dad has some issue that he doesn't want to get rid of. So meditation allows you to sit and connect to the soul you. You connect to God. You can, whatever you believe. I mean, and I really know this to be true because of what has happened to me over the years. It's like you ask yourself questions, or the universe or God or whatever, many times you get answers. There's no way you could know, because you're finally, for the very first time, in tune with yourself. So by doing those three things, becoming aware, and again, you don't have to buy anything, become aware, start believing in yourself. Each one compounds on the other. The awareness starts to create the belief starts to create the connection. When you do those three things, it just changes everything, because you start to become, again, you're the observer, but in your everyday life, you start to see, I don't have to go to a therapist. Many people go, I go to therapy twice a week. And I'll say, okay, when is your appointment? Thursday. Okay. How do you feel Thursday night when you leave the therapist's office? Not great, right? You dig up all this stuff. It doesn't magically go away whenever you walk out that door. You take it home with you. You start thinking about it. You are reliving all of this trauma over and over and over again. But what meditation does, meditation releases things from you. There are things trying to get out of you. And like I said before, your mind is so incredible that our mind does this amazing thing while we're sleeping. Okay. Your mind will try to release things by shrouding it in something else. In other words, say your parents died when you were a kid in a car accident. And one night you're dreaming about, I don't know, two eagles flying around and all this stuff. And you're crying and you don't know, you wake up and you don't know why. That is how brilliant the human mind is. It is cloaking what you're trying to get rid of in a metaphor to release it. I mean, that's what it'll do if you allow it. So when you're sitting in meditation, you're connected to yourself, you're doing that counting, you've gone above the mind. You've given your lower mind a very easy job, count from 1 to 20. And now that lower mind is, your everyday mind is doing that. As soon as you kind of lose track of what's happening, you go above it, you transcend it. That's what transcendental meditation does too. It puts you where you're above the mind and you're able to get in there. So doing those three things will change your life. You don't have to do anything else. That is absolutely, I mean, from all these years, those are the three things I teach everybody, because it really is life-changing, and it really is amazing the way they compound on each other.
Yeah, that sounds like a very powerful process and a pretty integrative process of merging just some powerful principles of psychology, spirituality. So I really like that. And another thing too that you said, kind of overarching, I heard you a couple of times say like, do this without judging yourself. Because I know there are a lot of people who are committed to making these changes, but then they feel anxious. I mean, just the other day when I was on Facebook, somebody posted, I'm feeling anxious. I wish I was braver. And I wanted to be like, you are brave just by sharing this and by moving forward. So, could you say a little bit more about not having judgment, even if we're feeling kind of anxious or like, man, I wish I had a stronger mind?
Yeah, I mean, judgment is the biggest dream killer of all. And it's not the judgment. We're deathly afraid of the judgment we get from other people, but it's not that judgment. It's the judgment that we're doing to ourselves. It's exactly because we're the ones that we're trapped in here with all the time. It's like I said, that voice in your head, the bitchy roommate, I always call it, but it's like you can't get away. And this voice knows all the things you've never done, or all the things you've ever done that you never got caught doing. So think about this. There are things you would be so embarrassed if the general population found out that you've done in your past, things you're not proud of, things that you really regret, right? Your mind knows those things. And when you get into it, it's so weird to say you get in a fight with your mind, but you do. There's two things going on. There's the old, mechanical voice, and then there's you that's making the other voice talk. But when you've got those conflicting things going on, that mind will use everything against you at the earliest possibility. So it's going to use everything. Oh, you're too fat. You're too ugly. You're not smart enough for this. You're never going to do it. You're too lazy. You procrastinate too much, whatever that is. That's your judgment. And it's not even real, because remember, it's based on a character that you created. It's like, if you were a little kid and you had a bad home life and you had a father that was abusive, whatever, you've built a person that had to live through that. You've built checks and balances, and you've created things in you to help when you were a little kid. You weren't logical, you weren't mature, you did everything you had to do at the time. But now you're an adult and you're falling, it's like a record. We've built these grooves into our lives, and every time we slip on autopilot, the record goes right back into the groove, and whatever is comfortable. So it's comfortable to judge ourselves. We give other people 5th chances, 10th chances, 315th chances. And it's like our own selves.
Yeah.
It's very rare. We want to
Right.
grant, right? And not only that, it's like if you went out and robbed a bank, you went out and you did something really stupid, you could go to prison for 10 years, 15, even murder. You could be out in 30 years, maybe. We never let ourselves off the hook. We do something, and for the rest of our lives, we are going to torture us. You're not a good person. Remember that time when you were 8 that you did this, that's what we do. So it's like you have to, when you start creating the awareness, you have to start remembering to be gentle with yourself, that you weren't logical, you weren't mature. This wasn't you didn't go into this trying to create this version of yourself. So you have to remember to dismantle this. It takes some time, because it took decades to create this version. And people, I'll say, how do you act with your parents? How do you act with your friends? If you are different people with everyone you're around, then that's a sure sign that you've created these versions of yourself that you think are right for different situations. So the awareness starts to uncloud that ability to see what's happening. Not only that, but the next time something dramatic happens. And I have an aunt who, we used to always fight. She's just so negative and everything is so, you'll start to see the next time, I would be around her, something would start to happen where I would get sucked into it before, and then we'd be yelling and fighting. All of a sudden, things seem to slow down. It's like they call it the zone. It's like everything's in slow motion, and you're like, wow, what's happening? But all of a sudden, because you keep putting breaks in this tape that's running in your head, now something happens, and there's all of a sudden a moment where you're paused, and it's like, what am I going to do here? And I tell people, you just ask yourself one thing. It's the only question you ever have to ask, because it works in any situation. Is you say, is this worth my peace? And 99.999% of the time, it's not. And so as soon as you say that, first of all, you have all the power, because normally somebody throws you off. It was like the debate the other night, the presidential debate. When you throw somebody on the back foot and they feel like they're having to respond to everything, if you can stay in control, what happens is the pause comes, you decide, I'm not going for this, right? No matter what they do now, you've won, because you're not allowed. those kind of people, energy vampires, the people that are going to drain your energy, you know, the people you walk up to on the street and they say, how are you? And you say, great. And then you go, how are you? And they say, oh, you know, and then they tell you this long story. And by the end of it, you feel like you want to go to bed because they have just sucked out all your energy.
Yeah.
You know, energy is a real thing. It's like currency. And every day you only have so much. And most people have all that energy divided inside them to hold all this crap in. So meditation starts to release things. You know, I've cried many times and didn't know why. And I'm feeling just these amazing things in the background that have been in there for years that make no sense anymore. You've made room now. They start to go away. They just start to leave you without going to therapy, without having to relive all that. Because I mean, that's the definition of torture, is for something horrible to happen to you. And now you're reliving it over and over and over again. And some therapy is right, I mean, for the person, but most people can make that, if they make the connection with themselves, they can work these things out without an intervention of another person trying to, because again, it's just another person putting their beliefs, how they think the mind works, on you instead of figuring out for yourself.
Yeah. So I'm hearing, just really, like you said, try to get in touch with yourself. And that gives us that ability to know what we really want and take a moment and pause. And, you know, another topic that you talk about is manifestation. So what does that mean to you? And how can we be sure that we're manifesting, you know, what's really for the best and highest good, and not something that's just going to make us unhappy?
Well, the thing is, you're manifesting all the time, whether you know it or not. Okay. And most people are manifesting what they don't want. They're manifesting the negative. Because if you live in negativity all the time, and the law of attraction is an amazing thing, but they've simplified this to the point where, you know, oh, you just think about a Ferrari and then it's in your driveway. That's what this has become.
Yeah.
This law is real, but it's your mind that's doing it. It's something above us that we don't know what is happening. When you connect into universal consciousness, your mind is really this law of attraction. You are bringing to yourself. So I have an aunt who, like I said, is super negative. She goes to the car wash and she's getting her car washed. The window comes down somehow. The car gets filled with soap.
Oh my God.
Have you ever heard that happening to anybody? No, but you can definitely see it happening to her. Her and her husband were the most, it's like they're always sick. Everything in the world's wrong. They live in negativity. So it's like a negativity vortex. When there's two people negative, you're just bringing in, you're bringing in a negative existence. So first of all, decide what it is that you want. Because like I mentioned earlier, most people have a very just general idea. I want to be rich. That's not enough. That's a daydream. That's not a goal. That's not something you can reach by just saying, like I said, I want a Ferrari, and then all of a sudden it's going to be there. They always forget the action step, which is the idea that to manifest the things that you want, you have to stop putting so much energy into, first of all, the things that you don't want, but also into the idea of, am I going to get this thing? Because that's what kills it. It's like you order something from Amazon. You don't pick up the phone every day and go, hey, Amazon, where's my package? Where's my package? Where's my package? It's going to arrive, right? When it gets there. That's what we do, though. We try to micromanage it. We try to figure out, okay, in order for this to happen, then A, B, C, and D has to happen, right? And then you try to figure out how it's got to happen, and you knock yourself out of the manifestation because now you've blocked it from happening because your mind is figuring out, okay, all these different things have to happen. What you got to do is become crystal clear on what you want. A great thing before or after meditation, sit for a minute, 2 minutes, just visualize what you want. Visualize yourself. You know, one of the best pieces of advice, Neville Goddard, was live in the end. In other words, live in the feeling that you want to have when you get this thing, when you want to be this person. How would this person, if I was this person, how would they act? And then start acting that way. And like I said, I'm going on this cruise next week. I do this great thing and that people can do is because some people find it hard to change where they are. In other words, I'm around my family all the time. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. My partner isn't supportive. So it's very hard to make any kind of change going out. But if you go somewhere out of town, you go on a vacation, you go somewhere where people don't know you, you can become the person you want to be. You can live that. And it's unbelievable because you're living what you want, and it starts, then all of these things start to come into place in your life. Things start to happen, you know, when your mindset is right. So manifestation is real, but most of the time we're manifesting what we don't want. We're manifesting the wrong thing. Because we allow fear. I don't want this, or what's am I gonna, if I will die if this happens, and you're just obsessing over that. that's what your wherever your focus is what you're bringing into your life. So if you're focusing on that, that's what is going to start expanding. So decide what you want, see yourself, I tell people, create an anchor image. In other words, if you want to be rich, you want to own a house, this beautiful house, you want to have a wife and 2 kids, you want to do this, what would that image look like? If you and your wife and your kids in front of the house holding a stack of money, whatever it is, that you can go to now is your anchor image. So whenever you're standing in line at the bank, instead of thinking, oh God, I got to do all this today, or I have to do this tomorrow, go to your anchor image and let yourself feel it. This is what I'm working for. This is where I'm going to, and not, this is what I'm going to be, because then it's always going to be ahead of you. And right, if you always want something, you're always wanting it. You're not receiving it. So you have to almost believe that you've got it, that it's you, that this is you. This is the real version of you, the you 2.0. So you just start, again, it's all in the little moments. What can you do when you're standing at the bank? What can you do when you're driving in your car? Michael Singer had a great thing. Michael Singer, the spiritual teacher, when he says, the guy in front of you is driving too slow. What are you doing? If you're back there arguing and yelling at the guy, you've just defeated the purpose, right? Because he has no idea. He's up there oblivious. You're back there ruining your day. Okay. So when that happens, you just release. You release. You don't worry about it. When you have the day off tomorrow and you're going on a picnic and it's raining, you don't go, oh, the universe hates me. Well, how can this happen? I was so good this week and now it's raining on my day off. You let it go. And those are little things, but those little things, that energy comes back, that focus returns. So these are all things you do. It's in your everyday life. You got a few extra minutes, work on yourself, work on your mind, because you're not putting coins in a jar that never accumulate. Every time you do it, at some point, this thing's going to overflow. It's an accumulative effect. We got here. I've lost 30 pounds recently, right? But I gained 60 pounds because I, ate ice cream and pizzas and all the stuff that I wanted to eat. But I did it over time. I didn't wake up one day and had 60 pounds, on me. So you've got to be willing to spend at least some time to make it right, and it's not something that's hard. It's just something that takes your attention, and it takes a little bit of your time.
I mean, I like how you give very practical and empowering suggestions. I mean, is this some of the suggestions and topics that you talk about on your cruise? And also, I read on your website that you use infotainment, which is a combination of inspiration and entertainment. So can you tell us a little bit? I mean, what's infotainment? What are your programs like on your cruise? And the other programs that you design for people.
Well, like I said, what I used to do is I used to open for celebrities, or I used to do my own show in Vegas, but it was entertainment. So, you would come and, being somebody who obviously have realized, okay, there's a person who wants people to stand and applaud for them. And there, there's a certain kind of person who is an entertainer, somebody who you need that for some reason. Okay. So I'm not oblivious to that fact. So, but then it started to become, I would get these standing ovations and I would get all this adoration, but it's very, very hollow, because there's nothing to hold on to out of that. There's nothing you're giving the people. They may love you for the moment, but you're not giving them anything. And so many people came up and would say, how do I use this? How can I do this? How can I do that? I've had people, that have seen me on television, like on news interview shows, and come up and say, I've got a lady, I have stage 4 cancer. I have 4 kids. I'm a single mother. They've given me 6 months to live. I'm frightened to death. What do I do? She said, I just saw you on TV and I knew you would be able to help me. Okay. Now this is 4 years ago. She's still alive. Not that I had anything to do with that, but her mindset changed from I'm dying, it's over, what are my kids going to do? Because that's all it was. She was completely just overrun with that feeling. To, I told her, it's like you're driving a car. Now your car may have some problems, and at some point you may have to get out of this car and get in another one, which, if you believe in the afterlife, and I do, I believe we go on and on and on. I mean, we're just energy. So you don't have to worry about, okay, the end of this. And we never know if you believe in past lives and those things, it's like, who knows what karma people have accumulated. When they say, how could a kid have cancer at 4 years? I mean, there's no reason. It's above our pay grade. We don't understand what makes these things work, right? So all we can do is focus on ourselves, is focus on, making changes in our life. So I decided I'm going to do the show, but I also did motivational speaking and seminars and things. And I thought, I'm going to combine these. So I took a year and I just rewrote everything, and I made it so It's infotainment. You're getting, because most of the time you see a motivational speaker and you feel like you're being preached to, because it's
Right.
like somebody up there's talking and you're out there listening and it's like, oh, how do I do this? Right. But when you see somebody who not only tells you some amazing stuff about you, but then brings people up and shows you what happens when you're connected to this consciousness, and you're doing something where they're
I
actually
like
seeing it in
that.
action. You
I
don't
like
normally
that.
see that.
Yeah.
So it becomes something else. So on this cruise, I will do 2 nights in the theater. Like if you've ever been on a cruise, they do, big nights, production shows and that sort of thing. So I do 2 nights where I'm doing the entertainment and the motivation together in like a Las Vegas style show. But then I also do a seminar one day, which is all about, the mind. And I teach the ABCs of mind power in everything that I do, because in a situation where you only have 45 minutes or an hour to reach somebody, you have to be certain of that you're teaching them actionable steps. So that's what I do. And now I do every podcast that asks me, I do every radio show, TV show, because I really think this message, this is how we change the world. Because what we do now, which is so wrong, it's like we try to change everyone else. That's why there's always wars, there's always fighting, there's all of this, because we think that what needs to happen is to make those people change and then life will be okay. You have to change yourself. And then the people around you, they will change just by osmosis, because they'll see you change. They'll be inspired by your change. They'll want to change. They'll inspire people. And that's how we change the world. It's not by force and by forcing everyone to do something. Just worry about yourself and teach people, by your example. And that's what happens. So that everything that I do now has that. It's got this idea that, look, your mind is an incredible machine. You don't know how to use it. I'll give you some examples, some real world. I'll show you, and then I'll teach you 3 or 4 things you can do to start changing your life. And because what happens, it becomes rocket fuel. As soon as you change the energy from your change, what you're seeing in your life is like rocket fuel, because it inspires you, it pushes you farther. And I love that. I mean, people come up to me and they say, oh, I meditated for the first time. A cruise is great because if I go on at the beginning and I'm on for 15, 20 days, I can see, and not only all the people I've worked with over the years, but I can actually see people that have never meditated before, and by the end of the cruise are meditating every day, and that are seeing these huge changes in that little amount of time. It's just like we never give ourselves quiet time just to sit and be alone, to work on ourselves. It's just not out there. It's in here. And until we realize that, it's always going to be looking for something out there to make us happy. It's like, be happy first. This guy's not going to make you happy. The car, the butt, whatever. Happiness does not exist there. It exists here. It's like I tell people, go out right now and buy me a pound of confidence. Go get me a half a pound of courage. Go find me confidence. They don't exist out there. They don't exist. They're inner things, right?
Yeah.
So all of these things become much more apparent. It's like you've got this mirror that's just so cloudy, but you're cleaning it. You're every time you meditate, you're shining that mirror, and you're starting to be able to see yourself, which is what it is. You're seeing when we're upset with other people in the outer world that are doing something, it's usually because it's something in us that we do that we don't like. And so you start to realize the world is a mirror, and it's showing me, what I need to change. I think red flags are amazing. It's like red flags are what you need to work on. So everything I do is from that point. It's like, I want people to understand you can do it. It doesn't matter where you are, how old you are, what you look like. It doesn't matter what color you are, your sexuality, anything. All that matters is you can have it, you can change, and you just start to do it. Hell with everyone else, because the people closest to you are usually the ones that aren't going to support you, because they don't want you to change, because it shows them they could have changed.
Right. Wow.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a really, really empowering and motivating topic and conversation. I mean, if people want to hear more about you, go to your programs, go to your cruises. What's the best way that people can learn more about you?
Well, the easiest way right now, brentwebb.com. We're actually next week. I have a brand new website. It's being built on the back end now. It's about to go live. It's coming next week. But all the programs and all of and everything that I do is there. But one thing I tell people is, because meditation is so important, I put together kind of a miniature meditation course. It's free, but it teaches you. It's a meditation journal that teaches you all the steps of my meditation. And I've included a couple of guided meditation videos and things just to get people, wherever you are, you can start. This is how you do it. So if you go to meditationminicourse.com, You just put in your name, your email. You'll get on my mailing list and be able to see all the new stuff we have coming out and the new free trainings, but you'll also get the course and you'll be able to download it and start using it. Because really, us talking and me talking on all these podcasts, it's great. But until you implement what we're talking about, this is just nothing, because, until you put it in your life and see results, it's just going to be some kind of, abstract thing that you can't wrap your mind around. You have to see the results for yourself. So that's everything I do. I'm trying to get people at least try to become aware, at least try to create belief, at least try to, connect to yourself. So meditation's a great way to start. So meditationminicourse.com or brentwebb.com. Either one, you'll find me.
Those are great. And, I think one thing that I really appreciated about you is you gave us a lot of actionable steps. I feel like we almost packed in like a 30-hour program into about an hour today, which is pretty impressive. So thank you for sharing that wisdom, and, really giving us, hey, here's the keys to the kingdom. Here's the things you can do. So thank you. Was there anything that we didn't get to that you feel like would be important or helpful for people to know?
No, I think you just hit the nail on the head. So many people are trying to sell you the next thing, and everything that you need, like I said, is inside you. It's just some step-by-step process. Now, of course, I sell courses and products, but that's for people who want to go deeper and for people who want to cut the learning curve, but you don't need it. And so that I think is the difference. You don't need it. But the only thing I would say is what I said earlier, wherever you are watching this from, you can do this. It doesn't matter your story, what you're going to say, I can't do this because, or you're going to say, you don't know me, so you can't tell me I can do this. I do know you. I have met millions of people in my life, and I can tell you your story. Everybody has this story that they think is so unique to them, but we've become the villain in our own story, and you've got to give yourself some grace, and you've got to give yourself some space. And just by doing that, everything starts to free up in your life. So just give it a try. I promise you won't regret it.
Well, thank you so much, Brent. I appreciate you giving us, like I said, very actionable steps. I felt like you didn't hold anything back, and a lot of high energy, and that you could tell it came from the heart. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
You are welcome, Matt. I appreciate it.